Hey folks, welcome to Wealth Transfer with TC. Today I'm going to be discussing multiple topics relating to God's wealth transfer. Now, before I get into this, I am not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing information, giving you my thoughts and my opinions on that information. Now, before we move forward, there's some things I need to discuss as far as this channel, the format of this channel, and what we try to do here. And many of you have just been following this channel for the last couple months, maybe 6 months, a year. Some of you have been following this channel since I've been making videos about approximately starting 5 years ago. Personally, I got involved with God's wealth transfer when I first got into the Iraqi dinar, dealing with the global currency reset. God has shown me multiple dreams and visions concerning the Iraqi dinar revaluation and the global currency reset. And so I got involved with that well before I was making videos and studying a lot of the Kim Clement prophecies, prophetic investments, and the wealth transfer from what God was showing him. So with that, what we try to do here is we try to put together the prophetic pieces to the puzzle of what God is trying to show us in the wealth transfer. God uses dreams and visions and prophetic words. And just because I do share a dream or a vision does not necessarily mean I believe it. Now, when it does come to prophets, that's a completely different category when you compare that against people who are just having random dreams or somebody who has that dreams all the time. Most of the time, prophets are claiming to be the mouthpiece of God, and they are saying that this is what God is saying. To me, they are representing God's voice. So if God's voice is inaccurate most of the time, then I am not going to talk about that prophet or discuss that prophet or share any of their dreams or visions or prophetic words. And just so we're clear, just because I share a dream or a vision from anybody or a prophetic word, whether they're a prophet or a dreamer, doesn't necessarily mean I believe in it 100%. And especially if the prophet himself is untried and untested, or they don't have a prophetic record, right? I'm definitely not going to be talking about prophets who have a really bad prophetic record, where they can't even prophesy, 50% of things coming to pass. And we've seen that on this channel multiple times with multiple people. So what we try to do here, because God does talk to us in dreams and visions, is we just try to put together the prophetic pieces to the puzzle. Sometimes we think those pieces to the puzzle fit, and then we find out later on it does not fit. Since I've been doing this, we have gotten dates and time frames and seasons when things are supposed to happen. And especially lately, over the last, year or so, we've got a lot of people coming out saying God is saying this month, this season, this day, and all of those have not come to pass over the last year. So just because I do talk about it before these events don't come to pass doesn't mean that I actually believe in that prophet. By the grace of God, if he does give us a season or time frame or date, yes, I am going to discuss it, but also I approach it with caution. I don't blindly just go in and start believing and then get really disappointed and upset, in which I've seen over the years in different people when things don't come to pass by a certain date. So that's what we try to do here. We try to promote God's wealth transfer. We try to discuss God's wealth transfer and what he is saying through his prophets and dreamers and your average person. So the next thing that I want to get into is this economy. And I was looking back on Thursday, the day that the inflation numbers came out, and the stock market ran for over 800 points. And that was absolutely ridiculous considering that the inflation report was absolutely horrible. Then the next day after that, then the Dow ended up losing 400 points, almost half of its gains of the day before. So this economy right now is really acting strange. And it's not just what I am saying, because I do follow a lot of different people that aren't involved in the wealth transfer or dealing with God. And they all say the same thing, because we should not be getting 800 plus points on a day that inflation numbers are coming in hot and the economy numbers are absolutely horrible. And we've been discussing this for a long time, that the economy is very much disconnected from the stock market. And Q, Love is God 7, that's his YouTube channel, he said something about God's grace in this economy. And he said, by God's grace, that the markets and everything is still holding up. And well before we even got into cryptocurrency and where we are at right now, we had discussed the debt itself. Remember, even at 20 trillion, we're like, okay, how much longer can this economy stand the debt at 20 trillion? Now we're up to 31 trillion. And you got all these different sectors of the economy that is just barely holding up. The bond market, the housing market, different countries and all their economic problems. And here we are, we're like, there's no way that this economy should be standing. But by the grace of God, it still is. And I believe that God is, holding back, and he's waiting for his people to get into position. And especially there's a lot of newer people that are involved in God's wealth transfer. And so they don't understand everything that maybe many of us have seen and studied over the last 10 years or 5 years or 3 years. And so it is by God's grace that this economy is still holding up. And that's why we should be continuing to prepare. And leading into that is, talking about our storehouse and preparation. And I look at what's going on in Europe and the energy crisis. And it makes me think about, okay, when the finances really come through, because I do plan on moving from where I'm at. And I do plan on being able to get into a place that allows me to have a storehouse, because there is a food shortage that is coming. And it's going to be something that's going to happen on a worldwide scale. And you can see, even like in Europe with energy, the kids have to wear jackets in the classrooms or blankets and so forth because it is so cold. And so this makes me think about, our preparation when the finances do come, right? Because the world is going into turmoil. We've discussed multiple food shortage and world economic problem prophecies on this channel. So maybe I do need to kind of start reiterating some of those and maybe start going back over those, just for the simple fact that I don't think people really understand that what we are about to face dealing with the wealth transfer. In order for the wealth transfer to happen, a lot of people, a lot of wealthy people have to lose money, which means the stock market and all related markets are going to have to crash. I mean, you have to think about it like what happened in Florida. How many people in Florida were prepared for what took place? When they had that winter issue in Texas, how many people were prepared? And especially California, where they do have a energy crisis and other things going on. How many of those people are actually prepared in California when things get really bad? So when the finances do come, how many people are going to be in position to be able to make these different moves and get their storehouse, get all their energy needs? Because this is something that we cannot just take lightly. I think especially here in the United States that we've gotten really lazy in our security. And things are happening all around the world. You look at even crime here in the United States, it is up dramatically. There are things that I hear about every single day in my city that we never used to hear on a daily basis. This administration and a lot of these governments that are ran by the left, they are very soft on crime. Okay, and I believe that's done intentionally because, somebody who's a victim of a robbery or a beating, it's ridiculous that some of these people are getting out within hours or not even going to jail at all whatsoever, and they're being let back out on the streets. And I could share thousands of cases just over the last year of just the ridiculousness of this criminal justice system. And we got this whole issue with what's going on in Russia. What if Russia decides to use a nuke? Right? People are going to be waking up. There's going to be all this fear in this world because a nuke was used. And maybe that's what it will take to get people to realize, what the hell is going on. That alone would cause the markets to crash and everything else. And I think we are getting ready to experience that. People don't understand the whole dynamics between Russia, North Korea, and China, and what China plans on doing. Prophetically speaking, Japan and Taiwan will be involved with a war with China. So maybe I do need to start sharing some of those dreams and visions of people who are seeing these things. So maybe that will kind of, maybe nudge you into preparation. And many of you see where we are at right now as far as our own energy. This administration has cut off drilling in a lot of areas, and they plan on moving forward on no drilling for oil in the Gulf. And while other countries are pursuing their energy independence. We are giving away our independence. And there's going to come a time, and I've shared the different dreams and visions where gasoline, a gallon of gasoline, is going to cost you $9 to $10 a gallon. That time is going to happen. And most people don't realize it doesn't matter if regular gas prices go down. What affects the prices in the grocery stores right now, the biggest thing, is transportation costs, which is what? Diesel, because everything that's transported to your Walmart or grocery stores, most of it is done with vehicles that is done with diesel gasoline. If the average price of diesel is over $5, you're never going to see the prices in the grocery stores go down until you see diesel at least around $3 a gallon, and not just there temporarily, but at $3 a gallon or less steadily, in order for it to happen, because companies are not going to start lowering their costs just because the price of diesel is going down. It has to be a steady price when it comes to diesel. So folks, the prices in the grocery stores and some of the other stores are not going to come down unless there is an overabundance. It's just like this, right? A lot of people can't afford televisions right now. So there's going to be an overabundance of televisions at the Walmarts and Best Buys and so forth. So what's going to happen? Just to move the inventory alone, they're going to reduce the prices, but it doesn't matter if you can't afford the television. People have been spending extra money on gas, energy, and a lot of other things that to keep up their household. So with this wealth transfer, people have to understand that things may come down before they come up. And, I can get into some of the specifics of, dealing with the flash crash, the flash spike and all that. But I think everybody should be prepared either way how things go. And for me right now, yes, I'm done collecting cryptocurrencies. I'm in position. I have all my buy and sell orders in for all these different things. And as maybe new or different prophetic words come through, I may or may not make adjustments. So I do believe that we're going to have a very short window when the finances begin to come in that we need to start prepping for your storehouse. You need to start prepping what you're going to do as far as your living arrangements and start prepping for your energy needs and so forth. Right? That time is going to come. Right now, it's not that time. And I keep saying, all right, Lord, you see all these issues going around all around the world. There are people that listen to me in some of these countries where these economies have collapsed already. But one of the other things I do want to clarify, when people talk about the dollar crashing and stuff like that, or inflation and everything, and how the dollar's not going to be worth anything, ever since this administration took over after the elections, the value of the dollar up to this point has already lost over 33%. It's already lost a third of its value since he's been elected. All right, so what does it mean when the dollar crashes? Will we still be able to use the dollar? Yes. What's going to happen is all your items in the store are going to be way expensive. And so even if you are a multimillionaire, yes, it is expensive, but people who are still wealthy will still be able to purchase gasoline for $10 a gallon. We'll be able to buy a gallon of milk for $8. We'll be able to buy a dozen eggs for $5. Right? It's going to be the people who don't have money or not very much money that will not be able to afford a lot of the items that are going to be in the store, especially when it comes to food and other things. So as the price gases go up and as the prices of food and other items and other areas of the markets of things going up, then what's going to happen is the value of the dollar continues to go down. So that's why they say that, wealthy people are still okay during bad financial times, because it doesn't matter to them if they have to pay $10 a gallon or $8 for a gallon of milk, or if the restaurant costs twice as much to eat at now, right? Because they can afford to do all of that, right? Regardless, they have millions of dollars. So that's how all this with the dollar crashing and all that, you'll still be able to use the dollar. It's just everything else is going to be that much more expensive. Eventually, things will get restored, but after, when things seem at their worst. But by the time we reach when things seem at their worst, a lot of the wealth transfer should have already taken place. So, folks, that is all that I have for today. Hopefully you guys are taking in the word as far as preparation and getting yourself prepared for the things to come, especially when the finances come in. So anyways, I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.